Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to the Post Race Inspection Podcast. I'm your host, Thomas, and it is a pretty temperate Saturday for the middle of November up here in Cincinnati. I hope everyone at home is doing well. And before we get started, I just want to ask you guys to subscribe, like, share this with your friends. Subscribing is totally free and it helps the channel out. So, without further ado, let's just get right into it. I only want to spend about a half hour for this episode, but it's going to be jam-packed because I want to talk about the 750 horsepower package testing and the Goodyear tire test over at Bristol, which is what you guys see in the awesome visual aid window since I don't have a co-host this week. Um, and we're going to be talking about that. We're also going to be talking about the brand new 2026 Chevy NASCAR body. It's a Camaro. And then we're also going to talk about the format a little bit more because it seems like, there's people have done some polls over the last couple of weeks and it's caused some pretty heated discussion online. So just want to talk about that discourse that's going on right now, kind of analyze some polls that I've seen and the results of them. But I guess it's on the screen right now for those people that are watching the video form of this. But over this past week, it was a couple of days. I think it was Tuesday, Wednesday, or Monday, Tuesday. Um, or yeah, yeah, it was earlier this week. Whatever. Um, Goodyear did a tire test with the new 750 horsepower package for the Cup cars. And let's just get a little listen about how it sounds. Now, that is a lot of off-throttle time. When they're half throttle halfway through the corner, they don't get full throttle until they're all the way off the corner, which is really promising. And not only that, the tone sounds a little bit more. It sounds kind of like halfway in between the old and the new cars, where we had the super shrill high pitch with the boom tubes in the Gen 6, and then we went to these oval, very short exhausts, almost like long tube headers that dumped out the side of the car, and it gave it a lot more throaty, deep tone, especially with the low horsepower. But since they got an 80 horsepower increase or a 75 horsepower increase, it makes the cars sound a lot more rowdy just from that clip alone. I can't wait to hear what 40 cars at a time sounds like. It pretty exciting stuff, but people have been talking about that already. I was just giving my 2 cents about that. But don't what a lot of people didn't see or didn't catch is going onto this video that RFK Racing posted. I don't know if you guys see that or don't see that, but it looks like, at least for one of the two testing days, they ran the cars without the diffuser. And I would have to assume that they also ran the cars without the rest of the under tray because it's all connected. It wouldn't work if you just had the under tray but didn't have the diffuser. You'd either have to have all of it or none of it. It looks like they did at least some testing without it. So I'm really interested to see what the drivers have to say about that. I know not a lot of people were talking about that, so it was one of my wishes in last week's episode with Sam, and I was really happy to see them at least trying that. So some things to look forward to going into 2026 that aren't just about the lawsuit or the format. We'll get into the format talk later. This is not a lawsuit podcast. I'm not a lawyer. If I wanted to talk about the lawsuit, I'd bring in a lawyer. So, uh, if you want to hear lawsuit talk, by the way, I'm not going to talk about it unless, unless something big happens that's easy to swallow. Um, I would say if you want to listen to the lawsuit talk, just listen to Eric Estep's show Out of the Groove, or just go on Twitter and argue with people about it. Going on to the next topic here. So it looks like Chevrolet has revealed a new car with an AI generated background in the reveal and a terrible, terrible CGI rendering that looks like a rendering of a Chevy Malibu on one of their commercials. It looks, the whole thing is so poorly lit that the 3D model looks AI generated, even though it's not. It's a 3D model render, but they used an AI generated background, which is really weird because they had the car at Bristol. They could have just taken press photos there, but I digress. So Bob Pockris reports the new Chevy body for the Cup series in 2026 follows the discontinued Camaro ZL1, but it features the Carbon Performance Package accessory kit, which is available for sale for Chevy Camaro owners from Chevrolet. So it has a larger hood power dome, a revised front grille, and more pronounced rocker panels. So this was the kit that got tested at Bristol. I don't know why, once again, I have no clue why they didn't take actual press photos of it. So here's a very low resolution example of that carbon performance package. So you can see that there are little canards, this kind of carbon front lip that goes all the way around the chin of the car, as well as these carbon side skirts with a little, I guess, a little canard or, aero brake that goes over the rear of the rocker panel. And then you can also see that shaker style almost power hump on the hood. So one thing that people, number one, let's get right to it. So number one, the most important thing that will affect performance obviously is the Chevys have had a lot of trouble pushing on plate tracks, and it seems like just from looking at the photos here, the front end is way more round. It looks like they have the grill area pushed out so that instead of the leading edge being the, I guess, the front bumper, like the leading edge of the front bumper between the headlights, it is now going to be a flat pronounced area on like the decal for the lower grill. So that's going to give them, it's not going to give them an advantage per se compared to the squared off noses of the Toyotas and the Fords, but a rounder, like not a pointy nose is definitely going to help them out and help them be able to push more stable in at the drafting tracks. Now that increased power hump on the hood, that's probably also going to generate more downforce while minimizing drag increase, just by the nature of it, because it's such a huge surface area yet such a gradual increase over the car. It's not a huge step up like a spoiler is, so it's not going to create a huge amount of drag. It's not a super sharp edge. So that will be in another performance enhancing little dealio. It looks like the hood vents are also a little bit skinnier and a little bit longer, so they're going to look more like the Fords, but just with a little bit more surface area. So I think Eric Estep said something about, you know, the Chevy teams a couple of years ago, they got penalized greatly for messing with the hood vents to try and get some sort of performance gain. I think Chevy just went ahead and implemented that for the teams. Um, Now, one thing that's not really being talked about is the updated rocker panel design on this. So, um, there have been comments about how the wheel arches, particularly on the front, are a little bit more pronounced. So that's going to generate more side forces when the car is leaning into the corner. The cars get skewed a little bit. The back end, these cars, when they're going through a corner, the back end is a little bit farther out than the front, just because to go the fastest around a corner, you have to have some sort of slip angle, and the slip angle is the difference, or it's really how much you're drifting around the corner, how much farther out the back end is from the front. That's why people say loose is fast. Because when you have the back end out a little bit, the air is hitting the side of the car, and the whole side of the car acts as an additional downforce generator, but it's like side force. It's basically pushing the car, keeping it stable. So that's why you see, like, when cars are racing alongside each other, they get unstable just from that without even making any contact or anyone bumping them or even being behind them. But this updated design, it looks the same as far as the actual rocker panel itself. It looks the same, flat on the side, and it kind of curves more inward towards the rear wheel, or towards the inside of the car when it gets closer to the rear wheels. But they added this little bit to kind of resemble the side skirt on the carbon package, and I bet you that that is bumped. It's got a little pronounced bump that wasn't there last year with the old body. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, but a few years ago, the Joe Gibbs teams got in a lot of trouble for adding additional layers of vinyl wrap underneath the actual top coat, the design vinyl wrap, on the edges of the front bumper and in that exact spot on the side of the car. So, it adds one half a pound of downforce, 1 pound of downforce. I have no clue how much downforce it adds, but the teams wouldn't have been trying to do it, trying to skirt around the rules. The teams wouldn't have been doing it if it didn't give you speed gains. So something interesting. It'll be really interesting to see if Chevy's faster in the corners. If they have a little bit more on throttle time, or if they carry more speed through the corners than the other two manufacturers next year. I guess we can move on now. About 15 minutes. Man, I'm flying through this episode. I guess we can move on and just banter about the format. So, November 13th, Adam Stern reported saying that NASCAR informed some team executives before the end of the 2025 season that retaining a playoff was the most likely outcome of its championship system review. According to people familiar with the matter, but its final decision remains unclear. And as of November 15th, 2025, that is still the case. It's still pretty unclear what we're going to get. It looked like earlier this week before this report that the most likely outcome was going to be a 10 race chase. So, which I would accept. I I replied to I replied to my good buddy Caleb at Clable that I would reluctantly accept a 10 race chase because it's at least better than what we have now with the winner take all final race. Now, people have come out in recent days replying to Adam Stern's tweet and just the general discussion. Historic Racetrack Aerials, a great follow on Twitter, says, I'm not going to lie, if they stick with the playoffs, I'm done. There's better ways to spend my time on Sundays. Caleb backed him up. He said, same here. I watched every race in a season for the first time in years, and the championship weekend just left a sour taste in my mouth. And I would have to agree with him, at least about the sour taste in my mouth. Why put all this effort into watching and rooting for your favorite drivers when their quest for the title is based more on luck than skill? And, that's the crux of the issue right now. And I've seen a bunch of polls, a bunch of comments, Mark Martin chiming in saying, all you have to do is read the comments. The answer becomes clear. I'm so sorry for our NASCAR fans. Yeah, he said it all right there. So it looks like I'm trying to find a few polls. Yeah, Dylan Wielazinski, I think that's how you pronounce his name. It's a Polish last name. He attached screenshots of different polls that have run over the last couple of weeks. Motorsport.com, Jeff Gluck, Mark Martin, and Anthony Alfredo chiming in. They ran polls and basically were asking, hey, followers, hey, people on NASCAR Twitter, what would you like to see? Keep the same format that we have now? Have a 10 race chase, a full 36 race championship format, or a different one and specify what it would be, or like a modified version of what we have now, like a multi-stage playoff. So basically all of the polls that I've seen, particularly these four, the full 36 race format gets at least 53% of the vote. The average that I've seen is around 60% want the 36 race format. Another quarter to 30% want a 10 race chase. And the remaining 15 to 20% want this current bastardized version of a championship that we have now. Now, we need to understand that there are going to be some bias with certain groups. There's going to be I'm sure that a lot of casual fans are happy with this format. I'm sure that a lot of casual fans are not happy with this format. Casual fans are probably not voting in niche NASCAR Twitter polls. And it's likely the same people voting in multiple of these polls. So let's keep that in mind. But still, it is a huge majority of people that want to see a 36 race format return, including myself. So let's just get it straight. So staunch defenders of the 36 or of the playoff format, staunch defenders of the playoff format, such as like Jordan Bianchi, want, they say that the casual fans will not tune in for a 36 race thing. You're not going to grow the sport. You're not going to grow the sport without a playoff. Um, what has F1 done in the last few years in the US? They've grown quite substantially, like very substantially. Um, what do they not have? What do they not have, Jordan? Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. A playoff format. They have a full season championship format. Now, um, casual fans are going to be just that. They're going to be casual fans. Um, there is a very small majority of casual fans end up becoming hardcore fans. You are not going to entice them with manufactured Game 7 moments. You're not going to entice them to stick around. You you can only hurt your growth. You can, like, this format that we have, it's either, oh, we get the championship. Oh, thank God we got the deserving winner of the title. Thank God the guy who scored the most points throughout the whole year won. And it wasn't controversial and he didn't win it in a controversial way. And, the finish didn't come down to a 2-lap shootout, anyways. That's the best case scenario for this format. And it has been. That has happened 2, 3 times in 11 years with this format. And I don't count this year because that second qualifier for that explanation that I had, or for that, you know, for that hypothetical, the second qualifier didn't apply because Hamlin lost it on a horrifyingly unlucky circumstance, and Larson ended up winning. He is the deserving champion. Let's get that straight. He's the deserving champion, but thank God he won, but it sucks that he won it in such circumstances. That's the best case scenario for this current format. The worst case is you get some stuff like Ryan Newman in 2013 almost, or 2014 almost exposed the whole format right then and there. Matt Crafton, well, for context, Ryan Newman in 2014 won 0 races and then finished second in the championship race at Homestead behind Kevin Harvick. Imagine if he had gotten to Kevin Harvick in the last couple of laps. Oh my God. You know, Jesus, that would have been rough. But Matt Crafton did that exact thing in 2018, where he didn't win a race all season. He led like not even 100 laps all year, and he cruised to an easy championship just from that. It's just the what I'm trying to get at is the best case scenario for this format is, thank God the deserving dude won. I'm so glad it didn't have to come down to luck, and he just went out and dominated the championship race and won the title deservingly in all aspects. The worst case is you get stuff like that where it makes the sport look like a joke, and you get stuff like this year's Homestead race where a dude, did everything he could, and something out of his control, out of the team's control, jeopardized it, and just one little change like that, 2-lap shootout after tens of thousands of laps throughout the whole year, 2-lap shootout decides the championship. That's this is not a stick and ball sport. This is not a 1v1. This is there are too many variables. It ends up, like I said in the previous video, in the previous podcast, it ends up being a, instead of a game 7 moment, it's a, oh, we're being called back inside by the teacher from recess. Last point wins. It it's it's not how I like to go about things as far as championships go. But I digress. I guess I'm still very hopeful that we see some sort of change. I'm really happy to see the changes with the cars going into next year. I'm really hoping that we see some changes with this format. Uh, but I think I'm gonna leave you guys with that for now. I'm probably gonna make it a regular thing where I post on Saturdays or Sundays, just to recap everything that happened on Monday through Friday through the NASCAR off season. So with that, I'll let you guys go. Thanks so much for watching. Once again, leave a like, comment on the video what your thoughts are with the new cars, the new updates to the cars, the discussion about this format. Let me know your thoughts. Sound off below. Subscribe. It's free. It helps out the channel. Nothing out of your pocket. So, let's grow this community. Thanks so much. Have a good one.